Okay, welcome back to the Dating Gets to Be Easy Masterclass series. Today we are joined by Linda Bloom. I'm so excited about this today. She is a psychotherapist and seminar leader practicing relationship counseling for over 40 years. And then her and her husband are also co-authors on currently four marriage and relationship books. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be with you.
I am so pleased to have you. So I guess first, let's just start off with just a little bit about you and also your husband, since you guys do a lot of work together, and how you guys came to find your purpose in doing, helping people with marriages and relationships and everything.
Well, neither one of us had good models in our family of origin. His parents got divorced and my family stayed together, but they weren't really happy with each other. There was a lot of tension and a lot of arguing, but by God, they stuck it out. And I don't blame anybody's parents for not being good models. Every parent wants their child to get the best start in life. They give them the best they had, but our parents didn't get good modeling from their parents. And so my husband and I, we put our heads together early on and said, well, I think we could do better than they did. That would definitely, that would be easy to do. But let's find who's got great relationships and learn from them. Let's read the books. Let's go to the workshops. Let's get some counseling. Let's pay attention to our experience. And that's a signature strength that both my husband and I have. We're hungry learners. So we learned a lot. And our first book, 101 Things That I Wish I Knew When I Got Married, that was narrowed down from 300.
Oh my goodness.
There was so much we didn't know. We didn't know about communication. We didn't know about generosity of spirit. We didn't know how to share power. We didn't know how to negotiate for our needs or draw boundaries. There was so much we didn't know. But we're hungry learners, I told you. And so we learned a lot.
It's funny. I feel the same about dating. Like when I started dating in my, late teens and early 20s, I was like, and then I started to learn from a dating coach. I was like, why was I not taught this? Why was I not taught how to date? And it's funny because I think people's parents don't teach them how to date. And like you're saying, a lot of people don't have good models of what a good, healthy relationship looks like. So I love that you guys just took it upon yourselves to help others. I love that. So in your book, you have two books, Happily Ever After and 39 Other Myths About Love. What are some myths that are ingrained in our minds and how can we change them?
Well, here's one of the really important ones. The myth of it shouldn't have to be so hard. Because creating a loving partnership with another human being is one of the biggest challenges we're ever going to take on in our life. It's pretty hard. Being a terrific parent's pretty challenging too. Having a fabulous career that's fulfilling is pretty challenging too. But I'm saying that romantic partnership, to have a golden one, while we're at it, we might as well go for the gold, not just a relationship, have a stellar relationship. If we're going to earn our way into that, there are going to be some hard moments in the beginning and the middle. If we learn from those hard moments and we learn about ourselves and we learn about the other person and we learn how to negotiate for our needs and we learn good communication skills and we learn to handle our differences, it may be hard, but the payoffs are fabulous. The benefits are fabulous. So that's one of the important myths. When people get that, they might not quit so easily. When they hit a little rough spot, they might say, what do I have to learn here? What qualities might I need? Maybe I need to be patient. Maybe I need more courageous to bring up the tough issues. Maybe I need to be more forgiving, that we all make mistakes. Don't we all make mistakes? Maybe I shouldn't be so righteous and judgmental. Maybe I have standards that are beyond the beyond. Do you know that it may be information? The relationship might not be a bad one. It could have great potential. but sometimes, especially in this day and age, we didn't have this look at all the instant options. If you hit a rough spot, you got 100 other people you can email and text with.
True.
Um, but I think that sometimes people don't see that they may have a good player,
Mm,
good person who wants to do lab work and learn how to co-create a great relationship. And when they hit a rough spot, they leave too soon. So
mm,
I like to get that myth broken up about it shouldn't have to be so hard, because sometimes it is. And
mhm,
sometimes that's the most important life lesson right there.
mm,
Walk away from that, we're going to get in a relationship with somebody else where we need to get that big life lesson.
mhm. I totally agree. I feel like a lot of people, I don't know if it's just like the way society has kind of evolved or what. I feel like a lot of people think that it should be easy. It should just flow. It should be easy. And if it's not, if there's like the slightest little hiccup, people are so quick to just, like you're saying, just pull out and move on, or they don't know how to handle it, or whatever. So what is something that a woman, because most of the people watching this are going to be single women, so how can she start to date and with a intention to an understanding that things might be a little rough? Like, how can she navigate that a little bit better?
Just facing reality and telling the truth. And whoever she dates, to be transparent and
Mm,
authentic about that,
yeah.
and say, you know, if the warm fuzzy glow wears off, well, maybe we just won't trade this relationship in for another one where we have another infatuation stage with a warm fuzzy glow.
Yeah.
We hit those places where there are misunderstandings or breakdowns. Would you be my lab partner date? Would you be willing to hang in there with me so we could look a little bit more deeply?
Hmm.
I tell people, the singles in my network, put it in your profile. Start out right away. By the way, I probably should say that a lot of people in my field do not feel the way I do
Oh,
about authenticity and transparency and honesty and integrity right away.
why do you think that is?
They believe that you keep your image on in the early dating period, like in the first few months. Some people even say the first several months.
Hmm.
My attitude is mm, I would probably say it's a little fringy, but it's true. I will give you an example from my own personal experience. The second week that I was involved with my husband, we're going to be together 54 years in September.
Wow.
Yeah, so we go back a long time. I said, I've been dating a man for the last 2 years and we just broke up. And this man did not want to have kids and he was commitment phobic. And I'm already falling in love with you pretty quickly. If you don't want to have children, would you just be honest with me and tell me right now? Because I don't want to let myself fall in love with you anymore. And he said, yeah, I think I do want to have children. In fact, I'm committed to having children later, off in the future.
Hmm.
And then I said, but I'm going to have a career. I know myself well enough to know that I want to have a big career. If you want a little stay at home, Betty Crocker mother, I'm not your gal. I want to partner with somebody who wants to be involved in the parenting experience and will mutually support each other's careers and we will mutually bring up these kids. Are you game? And I think I freaked him out. He told me much later that it did kind of freak him out. But he
Hmm.
said, yes, I do want my wife to work. I feel that that would be good, that I'm not sole support and that we handle things financially and that we're involved in the child rearing. And then I let myself go and I really fell for this guy. But,
Hmm.
a lot of people wouldn't dare to say such bold things so early in a relationship. But I just think people waste a lot of time bringing their looking good image to the relationship and they don't really get frank with each other early on about what they're about.
I Honestly, I totally agree. Because I used to be that. I would put on, the performance, I guess you could say, or I'd put up the front for the first little while, and then after a while I would realize maybe this isn't quite right, or he's not who I thought he was, or he's finding out I'm not exactly who he thought I was. And then the more that I got clarity around what it is I desire, the more I was able to show up and just express that pretty early on. And it just honestly saves me so much time, energy.
Good for you. Good
Yeah,
for you. And it
yeah,
takes courage,
it does. It
to,
does.
and I'm not saying on the first date that you tell them about the crazy people in your family, or, uh, you need to be careful and considerate of the other person, but early in the relationship. And I
Mhm.
tell people, put a present day picture up with your profile, not one that's 5 or 10
Yeah,
years old.
I agree. Yes.
Present yourself as you are
Yeah.
and say what you want. And if you want a lab partner that's going to practice your relationship skills with you, just put it right out there, and
Mhm.
you'll kiss less frogs.
I agree. I totally agree. But it's funny. I have a very dear friend of mine who's in this process right now. And she's been, showing up and expressing pretty early on what it is that she desires. And she's same as you. She's like, I desire a partnership. I have kids, but I desire to have a partnership with somebody. And if that's not you, that's great. But this is what I desire. Are you feeling the same? Are you going the same place, or are you not? Like, it's kind of like one of those things where you're just figuring out, do you both have the same vision? You don't have to necessarily be that person at that time. Know if it's that person at that time, but at least know that you're on the same page as far as like where you both want to go.
This is part of being frank.
Yes.
This is part of visioning and then going public with your prayer to that person to see if they're going in the same general direction, not identical.
Mhm.
Which reminds me of another one of the myths, and this was one of the ones that tripped me up for a long time.
Uh-huh.
If he really cared for me, and if he really loved me, he'd know where I'm going in my life and what's important to me and what I need, and he'd bring it to me, and I wouldn't
Mhm.
have to ask. So
Mhm.
it's too bad he doesn't love me very much, and he's really not on the same page. And I just was kind of victimy about it for a long
Mhm.
time. I actually did not realize that it was my own fear of getting vulnerable and being frank and honest and asking for what I wanted and maybe being rejected or refused. When I saw that I had a part to play in not having the things that I wanted in my relationship, do you know that I took some more risks? And it really does take some courage to have a great relationship. Great partnerships are not for wimps,
I agree.
for the courageous people
Mhm.
who will speak the truth and can take some no's, have some boundaries or some not yets, but stay in the game,
Yeah.
and it requires that we develop ourselves as we go. The courage is one quality, but patience and persistence are other qualities.
Mhm.
Forgiveness when people make mistakes, when they make mistakes, and when we make mistakes. And that's a very crucial repair tactic because the relationship is going to be good, 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 not so good. The trust is going to be strong, strong, growing, not so strong.
Mhm.
We'll be forgetful, we'll break agreements, and it's up and it's down. And
Right.
it's a myth to think it's just going to keep getting better and better and better and better. It's going to be tested. And resilience is going to be one of the qualities that we're going to need to bounce back after disappointment or a disagreement.
Mhm. Yes, it's so much truth in all of that. So why do you think that is? Especially, I feel like women, they feel like a man should just know, right? They don't want to. I guess I don't know if it's like feels too vulnerable to communicate. So they create this expectation that men should just know what they desire. Like, I guess where do you think that comes from? And
Romantic movies, romantic literature. And it's a popular myth that
Mhm.
the other person should know. And even the people who are in the greatest relationships aren't mind readers.
Yeah.
They don't have psychic perception, no matter how empathic they are, no matter how caring they are. I believe there's some people that do have ASP, but I think they're just a very rare birds.
Mhm.
Most people need some cueing, not demands and commands, no threats and ultimatums, just frank asking for what we want.
Mm.
Now, the women are doing it, but the men are doing it too.
Mhm.
They feel shy to
Mm.
say what they want in bed, for instance.
Mhm.
They feel shy to say, maybe you won't think I'm too manly, but I just really like to hug and have non sexual touch. Would that be okay with you? You know, the research isn't that the women want more hugs, it's that the men want hugs, but there's,
Really?
yeah,
Really?
they
Huh.
non-sexual touch. So the women, have the story that they make up that they don't want to have non-sexual touch with them. And when they start having these kind of risky conversations,
Mhm.
they feel closer with each other, even if there's some perturbation and unsettledness. If they stay engaged and they come to really understand each other, the trust keeps getting stronger and deeper and stronger and deeper. And then you can come forward with some of the other vulnerable material that
Mhm.
you may have been hiding behind your image. And people can't have that depth of the enduring bond
Mhm.
without those kinds of conversations.
I agree. Yeah. So how would you, I guess, what advice would you give to a woman to help her to show up more authentically and not, have that face on for so long and be able to, number one, be clear about what she wants so that she's able to express it, and then just be able to show, like I was saying, just be authentic from the get-go.
It's nice to tee up your remarks. Get
Mm.
clear ahead about what you want to say, and then bring it to the man that you're with and tell him, I've got something on my heart,
Mm.
and it feels a little risky to bring this to you, but it's because I want to be closer to you. Then
Mhm.
the man's interested. Do you know? What is it that she's working up her courage to, psych herself up to tell me? And he gets ready. And then he can hopefully, on a good day, be supportive and say, okay, I'm going to try to be your safe person. You
Mm.
can bring this deep feeling truth to me and hear you. Now, I'm not sure that I can meet the need that you're going to bring to me, but I can hear you. I'll
Mhm.
do my best to hear you. And if I can meet you there, without being judgmental or critical, uh, just compassionate understanding, I'll do my best. And so sometimes the woman has to have the conversation with the man to kind of pave the way.
Mm.
Sometimes we have to have a conversation about the conversation that we're going to have. That
Yeah.
helps him get ready about what she needs from him.
Mhm.
And other men I've dated, I haven't said anything about blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
Maybe she thinks her boobs are too small. She thinks her hips are too wide. Or she doesn't think she's the kind of dish that he enjoys, that she's blonde and he's for brunettes. Or maybe she's brunette and she's blonde. Or maybe
Mhm.
she's not tall enough, or whatever she's making up in her mind. And if she's going to bring some of this kind of scary, edgy stuff to him, she wants to say, I haven't even asked the men that I've dated before, but I feel comfortable enough with you and comfortable enough with myself that if I get some material back that's a little hard for me to hear, I could take it.
Mhm.
I want to reassure you that you could tell me the truth of your experience.
Mhm.
You know, and a lot of the things that the women are holding back about that they're afraid men are going to judge them for aren't the things that they would get judged for. They're just projecting
Mm-hmm.
their idea of their not enoughness, that they are not a good fit with him. And it's better to find those things out sooner rather than later. And I tell all of the singles that I work with, mostly they're women, but there's some of them are men, that if you find after you've done your lab work and your experimentation that this person isn't right for you, don't just disappear and ghost them.
Mm.
Have a parting conversation. Show yourself and the other person enough respect to say, I've gotten to know you and I think we're not a good match. It is no failure on your part. You're
Mm-hmm.
lovely. We had some good times, but it's not really what I'm looking for. And that's conscious uncoupling, which
Mm-hmm.
most people don't do. They leave taking parting shots, but you're bad and wrong. And you disappointed me, and you didn't call me when you said you were going to call me. And how could you go a whole week without even a text or anything?
Yeah.
And those kinds of things are not. They're not compassionate, loving endings.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have a trail of those because you may have to date a lot of people until you find somebody that's really eligible to co-create a great relationship with you. And so as best you can, you want to have a sweet ending, not a
Mm-hmm.
sour one.
Yeah.
Not one where you come away feeling bad about yourself, that you didn't have the courage to tell them the truth, that I've deemed you not to be a good match for me, and not feeling all rejected and insecure and what's wrong with me and why did he not never call me again. Do you know, even if it's a short-term relationship, to show some respect to the other person about the way you uncouple.
I very much agree. I've we have as a society it's become very I guess acceptable in a way, but I mean it's sucky. But the way people just kind of either ghost or disappear, or like you're saying, just say you didn't do enough for me, so I'm out. Like it, and I agree. Just really taking the time to have like a really vulnerable conversation and honest conversation with, like you're saying, I've gotten to know you, and it's just not in alignment with what I'm desiring.
And there's nothing that's wrong about that person.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the very next person they're going to date is just going to yum them up and they're just right and they are a match. But some people are just mismatched. And
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much time you give it, no matter how good communication skills are, and your conflict management skills, they're just not going to the same place. They
Mm-hmm.
may not have the same values. They may have, very different lifestyle orientations. They they just may not be a good fit, and nobody's bad and wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important to live from the frame of reference that relationships are precious. Even if we're having, one date, that people are not disposable.
Mm-hmm.
People with tender hearts and feelings there.
Mm-hmm. I very much, yes, I very much agree. Like one of the things that have coached women on is, even if it's one of those things where you go on the date within like the first few moments, you just know the traction's not there, the chemistry or whatever it is, like, okay, this person's not for me. I'm like, they're still a human being. They still deserve your time and attention. And for you, it's not that hard to just have a conversation with somebody for a little hour or so and get to know them and let them learn a little bit about you.
Yeah, it's kind.
Yes.
And that's the earmark of
Mm-hmm.
great relationships. People are careful with each other. They're
Mm.
kind to each other. They're generous with each other. In every interaction that we have with every person, we're doing our own work to grow ourselves into a kind, generous, loving, assertive, courageous, self respecting person.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so important because I know that a lot of the women that you're working with, They're looking for the partner of their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I challenge those women and I say, become the partner of your dreams. You
Yeah.
want a man who's courageous and self-assured? Grow yourself into the courageous, self-assured woman. You want a man who's assertive and financially fit? Get out there and find how you're going to make your money and be financially fit. You want a
Mm-hmm.
man who's kind and tender-hearted and nurturant, great father material? Develop that in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And every person that you date, if you only spend an hour with them having coffee, or you just have a brief phone conversation, even the people that you only text and email with, but these are all your lab partners. They're all stepping stones where you're growing yourself into the person who is eligible for
Mm-hmm.
that great man that you're visualizing that's going to come into your life. You're getting ready for him.
Yes. Yes. I totally agree. And I think that's a great mindset to have when approaching it, instead of approaching it from a place of I gotta find my person, I gotta find my person, of like, what do I get to learn? Or what is this person gonna teach me? What is that person gonna teach me? What can I learn about myself while having a conversation with this person, and literally looking at it just like as an experiment, and you happen to accidentally find somebody that fits.
Experiment is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very experimental,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes people don't come with that kind of curiosity and wonder that they're learning, that they're lab partners, that they're experimenting. They're growing up themselves and
Mm-hmm.
getting themselves eligible for a wonderful partnership. They buy into the romantic notions that there's somebody out there. That soulmate's out there. I know that soulmate's out there. And we're gonna know if it's right away, and
Yeah.
it won't have to be hard, and he's gonna read my mind and I'm gonna read his mind, and we're gonna be so compatible and we're never gonna fight. It's all so much bullcocky, you know.
It's true though. I think a lot of people I know, like thinking back when I was younger and dating, like anytime a conflict would come up, I'd be like, my thinking was, oh, this isn't right. This is, we shouldn't have conflict. And I think that learning to embrace disagreements or differences and things like that, and seeing it as a learning experience, and also choosing somebody that is willing to view it the same way and work through it with you. I think that's the thing a lot of women struggle with. They think that there's not a guy out there that's going to stick it out, I guess you could say, or work through, or they're gonna think that she's being too much by bringing something to him, or things like that. I guess, how would you, or what a piece of advice would you give to a woman who is scared to, bring things to a man that's like you were saying earlier, that's on her heart, that she's just feeling, and she's scared that it might be, too much?
That's the commitment.
Mm,
Her commitment, not being too busy minding his business about whether he's a committed man or a commitment phobic man.
right.
Commit herself to the process of being real and authentic and talking the risky talk.
Mm,
Commit herself to bringing up the tough subjects. There's a lot of research, about who brings up the tough subjects. It's about
uh-huh.
85% of the tough subjects are brought up by the women.
Uh-huh. I believe that, yeah.
Yeah, when I talk to women in my workshops about this, they get kind of indignant about it. Why do we have to be all the one to bring up the tough subjects? Because the men are bringing up the rear about being willing to tell the truth about how uncomfortable they are. It's not
Mm,
because they're not in pain and they're not suffering and their needs aren't being met. They just aren't as adept at tuning into their feelings and being able to articulate what they're experiencing. They
mm,
tend to hold back. But if a woman really wants a great relationship, she will dig down and find the motivation to commit herself to the process of speaking truth in a way that doesn't alienate him, that invites him into the conversation, that helps him to feel safe, that he can come out of hiding and talk about some of his dissatisfaction or
Mhm.
disappointment or longing and needs.
Yeah.
You know, my husband and I wrote book number 2, which is Secrets of Great Marriages. We had been seeing unhappy couples for so long that we needed to talk to the really happy ones to kind of level it out. And so we found the happiest couples that we could find and let them speak their secrets of success in their own words. We interviewed 50 couples. That's 100 people. There was one of the 50 who didn't argue.
Hmm.
They never did. They came from really pretty harmonious families, and they didn't have that kind of aggressive genes that others of us have. And they had such compatibility right from the beginning. I didn't even know that couples existed anywhere in the world. These people were the real deal, but they're rare birds. 49 of the couples that we interviewed in our anecdotal research, they fought a lot
Mm.
in the beginning of their relationship because there was so much power struggling about whose will was going to prevail, and they didn't have good skills in the beginning. But God bless them, they got help. They stayed with it. They were committed. They kept working. You know, some of the same issues kept coming up and up and up, and they kept working with them until they found ways where they could be together with some kind of harmony and compatibility. And so I refer to that anecdotal research that we did by saying it is a total myth to think if you have differences, even heated differences, even arguments with this person, that they're not the right person for you. They may be just the perfect person for you, and you got some things that you need to work out. And maybe there's an area that's irreconcilable. You know, maybe you're a right-wing Republican that's partnered up with a real lefty Democrat, and you're not going to agree on that issue.
Right, right.
Okay, so doesn't have to necessarily be a deal breaker. You put that in the irreconcilable difference area, and you've got all these other things in common. You want to be
Mhm.
parents together. You want to support each other's careers. Maybe you have spiritual beliefs together. Maybe you have activities that you love. You're both passionate about snowboarding or mountain biking or, you know, hiking in the deep forest. And you've got all this good stuff going for you. The sex is great. You know, you have a lot of good things going for you. Okay, so your political views are discrepant. As
Mhm.
long as you've got most of the relationship is really good, you can have areas where you don't ever agree. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of research about that. They interview these couples who've been together 50 years. They got the same differences that they came in with when they were 20s. You know, they just made
Yeah,
a space for it all to float. It doesn't have to cramp them up.
yeah. That, I mean, that's beautiful. That's all of everything in here was just such great, solid, easy advice to follow, I feel like. So you do have a free gift for our viewers. Can you just, it's going to be linked below. Can you just give us a little description about what your free gift is?
Yes, my husband and I teach, do counseling, and we write. So we've written 4 books already. We're having another one come out in the fall, and in the spring we'll have yet book number 6. But some people are really busy with their careers and they don't have time to read a whole book.
Mhm.
So we distilled down 3 of them to the essence, only 10 short chapters each. One of them is about sexuality. One of them is the 10 most important things we've learned about making a marriage work. And
Mhm.
the other one is 10 important things to know about how to end arguing. Yeah.
Mm.
So all they have to do is go to our website and they can have our 3 free ebooks that are practical and applicable and easy to read. We try to make everything that we write really reader friendly.
Mhm.
But if people go to our website, bloomwork.com, They're all kind of free stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
They can see, we have over 600 blogs on psychology today. We have over 100 YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
So people can get a lot from my husband and I, and we're leaving our legacy because we've made it our life's work to assist people to have the best possible relationships, because we believe, my husband and I, and so do the positive psychology researchers find, that you get the biggest bang for your buck from your closest relationships. And committed partnership is the closest relationship for most people. And that's where you get the happiness, joyfulness, fulfillment, and well being. So
Mm.
we try to inspire people. Yeah, work at it, because the benefits are unbelievable, more than you can even imagine.
Yes, so you guys who you have to go get your free gift and check out her website, her YouTube, the blog, everything. There's so much information, so much value on your website. They're very generous with their wisdom. Just as a parting question, or last question, what would be a last piece of advice or an actionable step that you would give these women?
Mhm. Make doing your own work a big priority in your life. Sometimes people are so busy trying to find Prince Charming that they've got their attention out there rather than right here. Now, of course, you need to be proactive about being in the game, but self-awareness, mindfulness, being willing to learn from all of your interactions with family members, friends, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, siblings. These are all opportunities for us to learn about ourselves. The mirrors are all around if we're paying attention. And we can see when we're operating out of our optimal wisdom self, and when we're victimy, kind of sour,
Mhm.
impatient, do you know?
Mhm.
And this is the best way to position ourselves for an extraordinary, wonderful relationship. When we have a great relationship, a loving, respectful, confident relationship with ourselves, it's like there's some messages that go out, just the way we walk, the way we handle ourselves, the way we talk, that is likely to magnetize somebody at a higher level of consciousness to us. So I say we should do our own work.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much, Linda Bloom, for joining us on this Dating Gets to Be Easy Masterclass series. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day.